Good morning, friends. I'm Bimal Jain, greeting the day to all the viewers. Today, we are going to discuss composite supply versus mixed supply. This concept is very important and interesting for the chargeability of GST. So, to start with, it's very important we should understand what is the relevance of composite supply and mixed supply. You must be knowing that Section 7 of CGST Act 2017 has defined the term supply in a subjective and inclusive manner. As we all know, supply includes all forms of supply of goods or services or both, such as sell, transfer, barter, exchange, licensing, leasing, renting, or disposal made or agreed to be made for a consideration by a person in the course or furtherance of business. This is how the supply definition as started under Section 7 of CGST Act 2017. And this definition goes down further to define import of services, even supply, even without consideration, as defined in Schedule 1, for specific entry would be supply. And Schedule 2 talks about what all transaction going to be supply of goods or supply of services. And Schedule 3 give the reference of it is neither a supply of goods nor a supply of services. But topic for all of us is composite supply versus mixed supply, which is being derived from Section 8 of CGST Act 2017. So what is the composite supply? If at all we want to understand, composite supply means two or more supplies and one of which is principal supply, and that would be the determining factor. So two or more supplies, one of which is principal supply, GST applicable on the basis of principal supply. And what is the definition of mixed supply? Two or more supplies shall be treated as that supply which attracts high rate of tax. Now, in both the cases, we are finding two or more supplies. So, what is the difference between composite supply and mixed supply? When we go to the definition of composite supply, it talks about two or more supplies naturally bundle in ordinary course of business in conjunction with important parameter. In composite supply, there are two or more supplies naturally bundled in conjunction therewith an ordinary course of business. Example given under Section 2 subsection 30 of CGST Act 2017, which define the term composite supply. If supply of goods happen with packing material, transportation, insurance, then what would be the incidence on transportation and insurance? As per this definition, transportation and insurance would be incidental, ancillary for the provision of supply of goods, and principal supply would be supply of goods. Then whole composite supply would be taxable as a supply of goods. Let's take an example so that we can understand. I'm supplying goods, and goods is taxable at the rate of 28%. Whereas transportation, transportation of goods by road, 5% taxable. But I'm recovering this amount from my customer, which in turn I'm paying to GTA transporter. So what happened? 1 lakh rupees is the value for supply of goods and 5,000 rupees toward the transportation of goods. So if I'm charging 1 lakh 5,000 on my invoice, then it would be whole composite supply and transportation would be considered in conjunction with in ordinary course of business, naturally bundled with a supply of goods, and whole combo would be taxable at the rate of 28%. That is what this example is talking about. When we go to mixed supply definition, as stated, in mixed supply is not naturally bundled. And how this definition under section 2 subsection 74 of CGST Act 2017 says, kindly run through, then I will explain this transaction. Mixed supply means two or more individual supplies of goods or services, or any combination thereof, made in conjunction with each other by a taxable person for a single price. Please pay attention. It says for a single price, where such supply does not constitute a composite supply. So what is the clarity coming out in this case? Clarity is coming out. Mixed supply is a supply which is not naturally bundled and does not constitute composite supply, though there are two or more supplies. And one example given, like if you are taking gift hamper, and gift hamper consists of chocolate, fruits, aerated beverages, and these items can separately supplied if required to be. But since you're charging single price, let's say 50,000 rupees, then this whole combo would be taxable as mixed supply, and this mixed supply would be taxable at the higher rate as applicable on supply of goods in this gift hamper. So let's take an example. This gift hamper consists of goods, like I said, sweets, fruits, aerated beverages, and that are chargeable at different rate, maybe 5%, maybe 12%, maybe 18%, and 28%. Whole combo would be taxable at the rate of 28%. That is the concept of mixed supply which we are referring to. And it's not naturally bundled. That is the region, and it can be separately supplied if required to be. So this would be considered mixed supply for the chargeability of GST. So we have to be conscious enough that whenever we are supplying any goods or services chargeable to different rate under a single price contract, which can otherwise be supplied separately, then whole combo would be taxable at the higher rate as applicable pertaining to supply of goods or services falling in that combo price or single price. Having said that, I would like to highlight one important parameter. We know works contract, right? Before coming to works contract, when I'm referring to two or more supplies, that can be either composite supply or mixed supply. The possible combination could be that there would be combination of goods plus goods, or goods plus services, or service plus services, right? But in case of works contract, you know they're the material and they're the services, right? Two or more supplies clubbed together. But why it is important? It is important from the perspective GST provision. Works contract definition in GST is pertaining to only immovable property. And why I'm referring this provision to all of you? To draw your attention that pertaining to movable goods, if you're having two or more supplies, which can be either combination of goods plus services, service plus services, or goods plus goods. In that case, we have to look at either it is a composite supply or mixed supply. What is the works contract definition in Finance Act 1994? Works contract means a contract wherein transfer of property in goods used in execution of works contract and leviable to self-tax, which includes construction, erection, commissioning, installation, completion, fitting out, repair, maintenance, renovation, alteration of movable or immovable property. So prior to GST, works contract consists of both movable and immovable. But in GST regime, it is only pertaining to immovable property as defined under Section 2, subsection 119 of CGST Act 2017. This definition I am drawing for your attention that works contract in GST regime pertaining to immovable property would be supply of service contract as stated in Schedule 2 of CGST Act provision. Otherwise, if it is pertaining to movable, then we have to identify whether composite or mixed supply. And the thumb rule for all of us would be composite supply is a two or more supplies naturally bundled and would be taxable on the basis of principal supply. Mixed supply is not naturally bundled and would be taxable at a higher rate of that combo for which single price is being charged. Now I'm creating some example for all of you to provide that clarity whenever we are discussing composite supply versus mixed supply. The first example, repairing and maintenance. Second example, hotel accommodation with complimentary breakfast. Supply of goods with installation. Supply of goods with accessories. Now try to analyze repair and maintenance. When you're going for repairing of your car, your intention is to get the repairing done. That is what being normally understood in ordinary course of business. So while repairing done, the service provider would be charging you a single price, a composite price, and this composite price may include repairing charges and the amount for the spare parts as well. So question will come when you're going for repairing of car, whether the whole combo would be composite supply or mixed supply. Per se from my side, repairing of car is the primary intention, primary supply. Whole combo would be taxable as a primary supply of services. Even though component, spare parts is being used for the provision of servicing of or repairing of car, then let's take an example so that we can understand. Let's say repairing chargeable at the rate of 18%, but the auto component which is being used chargeable at 28%. Then what happened? What rate applicable? 18% or 28%? Let's say 20,000 rupees the repairing charges. Out of 20,000 rupees, he charging only 5,000 rupees for repairing of car, 15,000 towards the component supplies. Then what happened? Per se, principal supply is repairing of car. That is the intention. And that's what normally being understood in ordinary course of business. So to me, whatever component supplies is naturally bundled for repairing of car, and whole combo would be taxable at the rate of 18%. You go with supply with installation, let's say AC with installation. So what happened? AC taxable at the rate of 28%, installation taxable at the rate of 18%. But you're charging a consolidated price of, let's say, 50,000 for AC and 2,000 rupees for installation. Then whole combo would be taxable as composite supply. Installation is the incidental, ancillary for the provision of supply of goods. And then whole combo would be taxable as a supply of goods. Next question will come, can we do separate invoicing? For supply of goods separate and for installation separate? Yes, possible. That can be done. So we can do separate invoicing for AC 50,000, for installation 2,000 rupees. In that case, 50,000 would be taxable at the rate of 28%, which is the GST rate applicable on supply of goods, and 18% would be taxable on 2,000 rupees for installation, because that is the supply of service contract. Now coming supply with accessories, you're purchasing mobile, and mobile contain charger, earphone. Now there may be different rate for the mobile phone and then charger or the earphone. Now question will come, you're charging consolidated 50,000 rupees. Same question will come, whether this would be composite supply or mixed supply. Answer would be composite supply. Reason is very simple. Earphone or charger supplied along with the mobile, it's in the ordinary course of business, in conjunction therewith, naturally bundled, whole combo would be taxable at the rate of mobile. GST rate applicable on mobile would be applied, even though it is composite, includes earphone and charger, because earphone and charger is not the intention. Intention is supply of mobile and which contain earphone and the charger. So whole combo would be composite supply and taxable on the basis of principal supply. Let's summarize. Whenever we are determining composite supply, there will be three thumb rule. What are the three thumb rule? It should be naturally bundled, in conjunction therewith, and normally understood in ordinary course of business. What is the intention of recipient? What is the objective? What recipient wants from a supplier? That would determine whether this is composite supply. Next question could be under composite supply, whether there would be single price or separate price. Both are permissible to determine the composite supply. Coming to the mixed supply, thumb rule could be it is not naturally bundled, maybe in conjunction therewith, but for a single price, which can otherwise be supplied separately. So these are the thumb rule. We have to keep it to our mind to determine and differentiate when a supply is a composite supply or mixed supply. After determining this, we'll apply appropriate GST rate as applicable on supply of goods or supply of services. And you should also keep it to your mind that works contract in GST regime is only pertaining to immovable property and would be supply of service contract as falling under Schedule 2 of CGST Act provision, which is at par applicable for IGST, UTGST, and SGST. Hope you got all necessary input for determining and defining composite and mixed supply. I'm thankful to each one of you for listening this concept of composite supply and mixed supply. Thank you very much for watching this particular session on composite supply.